All right, welcome back, friends. I am, of course, Tony Toon. I am the great and glorious Walrus.
And welcome back. I am Leanne Palmer. I am a bright and sparkly fairy. And this time around, we're going to be talking about the environment.
Yes.
We will touch on on climate change in a separate video because they are slightly separate topics, so don't expect any of that in this discussion. But we do want to talk about the environment and environmental issues.
Okay. You want to go first, or?
I can go first.
Okay.
I think really one of the biggest environmental issues that we have is plastics.
Mm-hmm.
Plastic bottles, plastic rings, plastic bags, plastic everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't break down. And I remember...
Yeah.
I was
about ready to say it.
When plastic was pushed as the alternative to paper.
Yeah, because
of use your plastic. Right, use your plastic paper bag. Use your plastic grocery bags instead of the paper bags. I wish we would have stayed with paper.
Mm-hmm.
Because paper bags were so much more reusable and they're biodegradable.
Mm-hmm.
Kids today will never...
You can always grow another tree.
Right, we can... And as long as it's being managed right, you can grow more trees.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that kids today will never understand and never have the joy of is making a book cover from a paper grocery bag.
I did that when I was in first grade. I remember that now that you talk about it.
Right? Well, we had to do that in high school. All of our books in high school, we were issued a book and that you couldn't have any damage. It had to be turned in the same condition
so
that you got it. So we would make book covers out of the
I remember doing
paper
that.
bags. And you could decorate them and we'd put stickers on them and it would just, you knew whose book was whose based on the book, on the book cover.
Yeah, how it was decorated, yeah.
Right, and when it fell apart, because it was paper and it would get wet, you'd just make a new one out of the grocery bag that Mom brings home from the grocery store.
Yeah.
But that being said, going back to plastics,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've gone a little bit overboard on the backlash to plastics.
Yeah.
California banning plastic straws, or parts of California banning plastic straws, like their schools and stuff. I don't know that that's going to make much of a difference.
This is why we need videos. People can just see me.
He's sitting here trying not to laugh. I get the point. I really do. And I understand the point behind using, paper straws in school. Maybe that is an alternative, for schools to use paper straws instead of plastic straws. But Starbucks getting rid of plastic straws, or not offering plastic straws, and selling metal reusable straws.
Mm-hmm.
While a good idea, and if you can use a reusable straw and you have a reusable cup to use with your straw, by all means.
Mm-hmm.
Those things can get absolutely disgusting on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
And if you just happen to be driving through and hit the drive-thru at the Starbucks or whatever coffee shop you're going through, chances are you're not going to have your reusable cup with you, and you're not going to have your reusable straw with you.
Yeah, unless you make it a point.
Right.
To have it, in which case you go into Starbucks too often.
I don't know. I used to go to Starbucks all the time, but the fact that the Starbucks was in the hotel I worked at and I got an employee discount kind of fed the addiction.
To be fair.
To be fair. That and I was going in at 6:30 in the morning and coffee.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about this.
I understand. I don't really drink that. Going off topic, but those things, especially those frappuccinos and things. Those are like milkshakes. You're not supposed to have those every day, people.
But they're so yummy.
They are good. They are good. I like them. I like the caramel frappuccino, and I do get it every once in a while. But when I go to Starbucks, I usually get hot chocolate. But,
Their hot chocolate is so good.
yeah. But we're getting off topic.
We're totally getting off topic. I'm sorry. Environment.
Yeah.
But had we stayed with like things like
Paper
bags, in a more sustainable way in which they were, from what they were being produced in the 70s and the 80s when we made the switch to plastic bags, I think the environment would be a lot better off. Because right now we have was it like a continent sized?
I don't know if it's a continent size. It's about I've heard anywhere from the size of Texas to about half the size of the continent of the United States to
Whatever. It's
to a large island.
Right, this giant floating island of plastic and garbage in the ocean.
Yeah.
This is completely destructive to the environment.
Yes.
I mean, whether you believe in, whatever your views on the environment are, you cannot argue that a large floating island of trash in the Pacific Ocean is not toxic.
No, it absolutely is. I guess my biggest point, and one of the things that I get so frustrated about, well, I'll say this, and it's always pissed me off about conservatives and the Republican Party. I don't know when it happened. I'm thinking it was sometime after Greenpeace was founded. Conservatives got out of environmentalism, or really conservation, because really that's what I'm a conservationist, not an environmentalist.
Right, and there is a difference, and I fall in line with that. I think conserving our environment, growing things in a sustainable way to conserve the environment is a much better thing to do than just flat out environmentalist terrorism.
Yes. And I don't know when it was, but conservatives just got out of the argument. They stopped making the conservation argument. And that's one thing that got me really happy in, I forget what it is. A couple months ago, the conservatives, the Republican Party, had their big conference. And one of the things that they're going to launch, finally, is they're going to launch their own environmental movement. Thank freaking God. And I will support that because I love fishing. I don't hunt as much. I love going outdoors. I love doing that. But that was always one thing that really frustrated me, because there were so many times that I wanted to get involved in an environmental group, but then I go there, and it's all these fanatics, for lack of a better word. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going home. Whatever. And that's on me, because you can make the argument I should stay there and try to talk sense into these people, but it's like, I'm going to school trying to talk sense into people. I'm tired.
I don't remember having that discussion with you where I tried to push you to say and talk sense into people.
Well, no, not just you, but I'm saying people.
People in general, the collective you that is.
Yes.
People.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say. And another thing that frustrates me is this kind of this. Well, I mean, it's kind of a lack of economic understanding too. Everything has a cost.
Yes.
Like with the plastic. Okay. There was that campaign, and I remember the tail end of the campaign where paper was being replaced by plastic, and it was going to prevent deforestation. Of course, I'm a little kid. I don't know. I don't know. The truth is that deforestation for lumber products and for paper products really isn't the problem. It's the slash and burn.
The slash and burn in the rainforest that was done not just for the logging, but for housing and development and
yeah, that's the biggest problem. And it's hard to tell some poor farmer in Brazil, you can't burn that acre of land you just bought to plant crops to feed your family. I mean, it's really hard to tell them that.
Right.
I do think we need to work with rainforest countries to try to find a way to profitize the rainforest in a way where tourism is more
like ecotourism.
Ecotourism, or something where the trees themselves, the product of the trees themselves, are more profitable.
Right, which really shouldn't be that hard because the trees that grow in the rainforest produce so much vegetation.
Yes,
there's got to be something.
Well, yes. Well, I mean,
in there that we're missing.
Right.
I mean, what was that Sean Connery movie where he found the cure to cancer?
Yeah, well, that may be a little bit extreme.
But it was in the bugs that were growing in the trees that then got into the sugar, and he couldn't find it again because they kept deforesting the area where the bugs were.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, even now, I think it's interesting because I was a couple months back, I was reading online where they're finding more cities in the rainforest, ancient cities, ruined cities,
right,
than originally they thought they were. They think that there may have been as many as 20 million people living in the Arizona basin at one point, sustaining themselves basically off of the rainforest byproducts and the Amazon, which makes sense because the Amazon has a lot of fish in it, and the rainforest produces a lot of food.
Yes.
So it would make sense that cities would evolve down there. Getting into what happened to them, they think that when the white people came over, the plagues killed a lot more than what they think they did. We originally thought they did. They think they killed maybe 50, 60 million people.
And there's a whole bunch of other conspiracy theories.
Yeah. But regardless, they are finding these ancient cities.
Right.
So obviously, there was a way to make these forests
sustainable,
a profitable and sustainable way for a huge human population. I'm also kind of off subject, but I get frustrated with these people who argue against poaching. Well, I'm up against poaching. I guess big game hunting. That's what I meant. Arguing against big game hunting. Okay. You understand, you're in Africa, you're chief of a little village. You can't plant crops. You can't really build too much infrastructure because the elephants will come knock it down. So a poacher comes up to you and offers you $50,000 to go kill an elephant. You're going to take that money for your village. If a big game hunter, a legitimate big game hunter through the government comes up and says, here's $1 million, we want you to protect the elephants with your local village. We'll give you some of the meat from the elephant. And, we only put out so many licenses a year because there's only so many freaking elephants.
You're talking about sustainable big game hunting. I have no problem with.
Yes, and I get frustrated when people
confuse the two.
Yes, and say that big game hunters are like evil people. It's like, no.
Poachers are evil people.
Poachers are evil people.
They will go out and they will kill these big game for one piece of the animal. It's like the buffalo in the American West. Buffalo hunters would go through and kill an entire herd of buffalo
just for the tongues
and the skins.
Yeah.
They'd cut the tongues and the skins out and would leave the rest to rot. Where a tribe could kill 2 or 3 of the buffalo or 7 or 8 of the buffalo and have food for the entire tribe for 6 months for the winter. They'd have the hide to, make TP, like the TP canvas out of.
I know what you're talking about.
They'd have rugs, they'd have clothes, they'd have trade goods, all of that, and they would use every part of the buffalo. So sustainable big game hunting, I think, is something that we should aspire to.
Yes.
But I also agree that we should take down the poachers.
Yes. And I mean, that's part of what big game hunting, money for big game hunting is to protect the herds. So I just get so frustrated that big game hunting is considered so evil now. And it's just like, yes, I saw the picture. I've seen the video. The elephant paints. It's cute. Yeah, the elephant's intelligent. There's no doubt about that. But the people in the local village in Africa ain't gonna care when they're hungry and starving. Okay, we want the elephants to be around. We're gonna have to figure this out, and we're gonna have to think about this rationally. Everything, and talking about everything has a cost. You talk about the Starbucks reusable cups and straws. Well, all I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, the metal for the cup and the straw.
Okay, so.
And you got to wash them.
Right. Well, so the cup itself, depending on the style and type of cup you buy, will run anywhere from $16 to $40 for the cup itself. The straws, the reusable straws, are the plastic ones. I think come in packages of 3 for like $5 or $10 or something. The metal ones I think are 10 or 12 apiece. And I'm just trying to remember these numbers off the top of my head. So they're estimates and they're guesses. So please, if I'm $1 or $2 off, don't yell at me in the comments. Please point out the error, but don't yell at me.
Do it.
And then you're right. And then there's the cost to wash them. And there's the detergent that you use to clean them to keep them from getting, like, those straws get really disgusting on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to use detergent, which then, again, affects the environment. And the water that you use, which then, again, affects the environment. So I think when it comes to environmental issues and doing things sustainably, I think we have to, and I agree with you, look at this as it
can't be all platitudes.
Right. It can't be all platitudes, and you have to look at the cost to benefit ratio on what you're doing.
Yes. I mean, the big thing around here is the Ranger Power. We talked about this. It's a solar power company that wants to come in. They want to buy farmland to put up solar panels. Okay, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but they're going to buy up farmland, less farms, less produce. Price of food's going to increase. The rare earth minerals we need to build the solar panels, they're going to come from China and India. Strip mines, probably.
Right, and then the cost of those materials go up too, because like with solar panels in general, they tend to use a lot of silver, so the cost of silver goes up, which then means the cost of...
And you got to mine more silver.
Right, you got to mine more silver. The cost of silver goes up. The cost of your silver coins go up. You end up devaluing the currency by pulling out the silver that's in our coins, which, is negligible at this point. You cause the cost of silver jewelry and gold jewelry to go up because there's less silver to put into the jewelry market. And I know that that's a luxury item for some people, but then it becomes a luxury item for even more people, and even fewer people can do it, which then takes down
those rare earth minerals are in every electronic device.
Well, yeah, and gold is one of the things that is becoming an issue.
Mm-hmm. Are we gonna, if we're gonna have these products, we're gonna have these electronic products, and we're gonna have these solar power plants. How much longer are we gonna let China and India have the monopoly on the rare earth mines?
Right.
Okay, we're gonna build our own rare earth mines. How are we gonna run them? I'm not necessarily opposed to rare earth mines. I don't want strip mines. But
strip mining bad.
But how are we gonna run them? They're not gonna. They're gonna cause damage to the environment, no matter how much we're gonna try to mitigate it to it. There's no way you can run a mining operation like that and not cause damage.
Right.
So it just, the whole issue just frustrates me, because I just think for so long it's all been about platitudes and feel good instead of actual solutions. I will say that a lot of these environmental groups are talking about nuclear power now, which to me means I can find, because for the longest time I've known that if you're not talking about nuclear power in terms of trying to become a green country or a green power source, you're probably not really serious about becoming green efficient, because windmills don't produce as much energy as we need to power major cities. Solar panels, the technology is improving every year, but they still lose about 50 to 75% of their capacity within 5 years. So, if we're going to be serious about this, nuclear power is going to be what we're going to have to do.
Right, but therein comes a cost trade-off.
Yeah, nuclear power is dangerous.
It is extremely dangerous. And as we were talking about the TV show Chernobyl in one of our previous videos.
Yeah, but to be fair, that was the Russian way of dealing with a meltdown. We deal with it
a little bit different, but it's still, it has happened on U.S. soil.
Yeah, not Fukushima, 3 Mile Island.
3 Mile Island. Mm-hmm. And Fukushima, which there was not enough warning time.
To be fair, it got hit by an earthquake, then a tsunami. Direct hits.
Right.
Come on.
There was no time to do anything. I'm not blaming the government for that, because there was no warning. There wasn't enough time to do anything. It was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But these are the kinds of things that we need to really keep in mind when we're talking about nuclear power. Yeah. There is that trade-off for, it might be cleaner in the short term, but in the long term, what happens?
What is going to be the long-term effects?
Right.
And because you do got to deal with the way the technology is now, it doesn't produce as much nuclear waste as it used to, thankfully. Plus, 3 Mile Island was a disaster, but it also proved that how we deal with meltdowns work, which basically we just seal the reactor and bury it under a shit ton of cement and then flood it. And where the reactor isn't good anymore, but the island itself is still habitable.
Ish.
Yeah.
It's not in the condition that the area around Chernobyl is.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen the old documentary, The Wolves of Chernobyl?
No.
It's on YouTube. Chernobyl itself, where the reactor itself is obviously radiated still, but the area they evacuated and is still evacuated, the environment there is strong enough. Wolves have moved in.
Okay.
So, it can sustain an apex predator. The problem is that they've caught a few of these wolves. Biopsies have shown a higher radiation level in them than normal. But the packs look healthy, and they've been there for 30, 40 years. So, I wouldn't want to live there. But
no.
Wolves are a good indicator if you can sustain an apex predator like a wolf. it's an indicator that the environment is sustainable.
That, and I do know, and I can't remember where I saw or heard or read this or whatever, but I do know that the wildlife isn't anywhere near as mutated as what they thought it would be by now.
Yeah, and it probably won't ever mutate that badly. I mean, just being honest, but there probably will be, and they talked about this in the documentary, there was a slightly lower survival rate for cubs, because they talked about the wolves. Yeah, something like the survival rate for cubs in like a normal healthy environment is like, I don't remember. It was like 10% lower than a normal environment. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay.
Like if it's 70% normal environment, 60% there. So, not good, but sustainable. But yes, nuclear power is dangerous, and we have to be honest about that too. But, and I'm not saying we should be go to a fallout society where every little car has a little nuclear reactor in it, because that's obviously dangerous too. But, yeah, you got anything else to add?
No, I think we pretty much covered environmental issues to the point where we can without talking about climate change.
Yeah.
If you have questions, if you have your own comments, if you have your own views on the environment, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button so that you know when new videos are uploaded every day. And that helps, doing that for all of your YouTube creators that you watch, helps all of them. Mm-hmm. I guess that covers everything.
All right. I got nothing else to add. You all have a great day.
Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you later.
Yep.